The Cleveland Browns crush the Miami Dolphins 31-6. On paper, it looks like domination, a statement win, the kind that should have fans celebrating. But instead of cheers echoing across Cleveland, there's outrage, anger, a feeling that something's deeply wrong beneath the scoreboard. Because while the numbers scream victory, the truth behind this game tells a completely different story. Browns fans aren't celebrating a blowout. They're furious about who didn't make it happen. Quarterback Dillon Gabriel might have the win beside his name, but the performance? Miserable. Checkdowns, missed reads, zero spark. The defense and special teams carried everything, while Gabriel simply existed. And standing on the sideline through it all was Shedeur Sanders, helmet in hand, jaw tight, knowing he could have changed the entire outcome if given just one chance. This wasn't a victory lap for Cleveland. It was a breaking point. Social media erupted within minutes. Millions of fans demanding answers, calling out the coach, the play calling, the entire quarterback situation. "We won despite him, not because of him," one viral post said, and it captured exactly how the city felt. So what's really happening inside the Browns locker room? Why is the team divided despite winning? And how long can Kevin Stefanski ignore the obvious before the entire organization turns on him? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about one game. It's about a brewing quarterback rebellion that could define the Browns' entire season. At first glance, the Browns looked unstoppable. 31 points on the board, a defense that suffocated Miami's offense, and special teams executing flawlessly. To the casual viewer, this was Cleveland firing on all cylinders, a team proving they're a legitimate contender. But for those who followed this season closely, the shine wore off fast. Because behind that polished scoreboard lies a truth the stats can't hide. The Browns didn't win because of their offense. They won in spite of it. Every drive felt like a struggle, every pass a gamble. Gabriel's conservative playstyle turned what could have been highlight reels into missed opportunities. The offense looked predictable, hesitant, afraid to take risks. Meanwhile, the defense carried the team once again, forcing turnovers, making stops, and even outscoring the offense in energy and passion. The scoreboard said dominant win, but fans saw something else. A team being held back by the one position that matters most. And that's when the tension started to build. Because everyone knew exactly who was waiting on the sideline. Dillon Gabriel was supposed to be steady, a safe pair of hands. But lately, safe has started to look a lot like scared. Against Miami, his numbers told the story nobody could ignore. 14 completions, 0 touchdowns, and an offense that felt allergic to risk. Every time fans begged for a deep shot, they got another short dump off instead. It wasn't just boring, it was infuriating. Cleveland's receivers ran open routes all afternoon, waving for the ball that never came. The cameras caught frustration in their eyes, the body language of players who knew they were capable of so much more. Even the commentators began to sound restless, questioning why a quarterback surrounded by elite talent refused to take the leash off. And as Gabriel walked off the field after another lifeless drive, from the bench, fans didn't see a winning quarterback. They saw a roadblock, because the more he played it safe, the louder one name echoed across social media, across the city, across the locker room itself. Shedeur Sanders. The final whistle hadn't even faded before Cleveland's fan base erupted. Twitter, Reddit, and sports forums turned into a war zone overnight. Hashtags like #StartShedeur and #FreeSanders shot to the top of trending lists within hours. One viral post read, "We didn't win because of Gabriel, we won despite him." It spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views and igniting a movement that went far beyond casual frustration. Memes flooded timelines, clips of Gabriel checking down, while wide-open receivers waved helplessly downfield. Fans mocked his play as football on training wheels. Analysts soon joined the outrage. National voices like Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith questioned why Shedeur was still benched when the offense clearly needed life. What started as fan noise was now public embarrassment for the organization. Every media outlet had a headline. Every sports show had a segment. And suddenly, the Browns' quarterback room became the most talked about drama in football. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any louder, whispers started leaking from inside the locker room. Behind closed doors, things were getting ugly. Reports began surfacing that even players were starting to question the team's direction. Anonymous locker room sources hinted that veterans on both sides of the ball were losing patience. One offensive lineman reportedly told a teammate, "We win big, but Shedeur never gets a shot. What are we doing?" Another veteran quietly admitted, "The defense keeps bailing us out while the offense plays scared." Defensive players in particular felt the weight. Week after week, they dominated, shutting down elite offenses, forcing turnovers, and still watching their efforts wasted by timid quarterback play. Frustration turned into division. Everyone could feel it. The quiet tension in the halls, the sidelong glances during meetings, the unspoken question hanging over every practice. How long are we going to pretend this is working? It wasn't just a locker room anymore. It was a powder keg. And at the center of it all stood one player who hadn't said a word, yet commanded all the attention without even stepping on the field. Shedeur Sanders. While chaos surrounded the team, Shedeur Sanders stood calm, silent, focused, and unshaken. Cameras caught him on the sideline, helmet in hand, scanning defenses, reading coverages, staying ready. He didn't need to speak. His body language said everything. He was waiting, not for luck, but for his moment. Fans saw it too. They remembered his college highlights, the precision, the poise, the fire. They knew what he was capable of. Every week Gabriel struggled. Sanders' legend grew. His absence became its own storyline, a symbol of potential locked away behind a stubborn coaching decision. Inside the facility, teammates quietly whispered, "He's ready." They saw his preparation, his discipline, the quiet confidence that great quarterbacks carry. He didn't need to campaign for himself. Everyone already knew. And that's what made it even harder to watch. The Browns had a young star sitting on the bench, while the offense sputtered on national television. But why? Why was Kevin Stefanski refusing to pull the trigger? The answer, and the fallout, would soon push Cleveland to the edge. Head coach Kevin Stefanski didn't just defend Dillon Gabriel. He doubled down. In the post-game press conference, when reporters asked about Shedeur Sanders, Stefanski brushed it off with a calm but cutting answer. "We're winning football games. That's what matters." It sounded confident, but to fans, it felt dismissive, almost arrogant. Cleveland wasn't buying it. They'd seen enough winning despite the quarterback to know this was a temporary illusion. To them, Stefanski's loyalty wasn't about strategy. It was about pride, refusing to admit his hand-picked starter wasn't working. Inside the organization, whispers grew louder. Was this about protecting a draft investment or fear of chaos if Shedeur took over? The media tore the statement apart. Analysts called it coaching ego. Others called it career suicide. Because while Stefanski insisted he was in control, it was clear the situation was slipping away. The fans had turned. The locker room had split. And for the first time, even insiders were beginning to wonder, was Kevin Stefanski leading the Browns toward the playoffs or walking them straight into a storm? Cleveland's roster isn't built for mediocrity. It's built to win now. The defense ranks among the league's best. The offensive line is stacked, and the weapons on offense are explosive. On paper, this team should be terrifying. But with Gabriel under center, that potential feels trapped. Every game the Browns win despite him feels less like progress and more like a countdown to when the magic finally runs out. Playoff football isn't about safe throws or playing not to lose. It's about aggression, rhythm, and trusting your quarterback to deliver when the pressure peaks. And that's the growing fear in Cleveland. When it matters most, can Gabriel rise to the moment? Rival teams smell the weakness. Scouts and analysts know it. Stack the box, force Gabriel to throw deep, and he folds. Division rivals like the Ravens and Steelers are already preparing to exploit it. Cleveland's season may look promising on the surface, but deep down, everyone knows the truth. A championship window this small doesn't stay open forever. And if Stefanski doesn't act soon, that window could slam shut before Shedeur Sanders ever takes the field. The Browns' 31-6 win over the Dolphins should have been a celebration, a sign that everything was finally clicking. Instead, it exposed the team's biggest flaw in the most painful way possible. A defense playing at a championship level, a roster ready for greatness. And yet, the most important piece, the quarterback, is holding it all hostage. Fans know it, players feel it, even analysts see it. The only person still pretending otherwise is Kevin Stefanski. Every week he delays, the noise grows louder, the tension sharper, and the faith thinner. Because the truth is simple. The Browns aren't just fighting opponents anymore. They're fighting themselves. Fighting pride, politics, and the fear of making a change that everyone else already knows is necessary. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to say a word. His silence has become the loudest voice in Cleveland. And as every week passes, one thing becomes clearer. The Browns aren't celebrating victories. They're postponing the inevitable.